When we look at notes, we have given them different names depending on which pitch they are. And this is so we can organize it on the different instruments that we have so we know where to find what notes. We will start with looking at what's called the natural notes. The natural notes then we can tweak and to get to all the other notes. But we'll create a map of all the note names now so that we can see how they theoretically relate to each other. Like I said, starting with a natural note, we have 7 different ones, and each of these boxes represents one of the 7 natural notes. And when we're moving across these boxes, we need to keep in mind that we have some to the further to the right, some further to the left. And the further to the right that we're moving, the higher pitch we get to. Higher pitch is usually defined as a bit thinner sounding, a bit lighter, and it's depending on what instrument it is, it's moving in different direction on the instruments. If we move in the other direction, we're moving towards a lower pitch. A lower pitch is often recognized as a bit deeper, darker sounding. We name the notes by the alphabet letters, and we'll start with the A, of course, and as you can see, it's moving across 7 different notes here. So that means that all the natural notes are covered by the first 7 letters of the alphabet. So from A to G, that gives us our natural notes. These ones are the ones you would recognize, for example, on the piano as the white keys. Now, we have a bit more white keys on the piano than just 7. So in order to get to the next, if we, for example, want to move towards a higher pitch, and after we've reached the G, then what do? Well, of course, we can keep moving. And the way we keep moving is by just starting over. So we get from A to G, and when we reach that and want to move on, all we do is to start over. That is called the next octave. So we go from one octave to the other when we move from starting over simply. When we reach the end and start over, we're in the next octave. Obviously you can move the other way as well, and that would be moving backwards then in these 7 letters. So if we move to a lower pitch, then after the A would be the G, and then the F, and so on. Now these are, like I said, the white keys. If we want to get to the other ones, we need to put in some notes here and tweak them a bit so we get all the possible notes that we have on the instruments. What we do then is that we take these natural notes and make them either higher or lower in pitch, which means that we get to some more notes than the ones that we see in front of us. Here we'll see where we have the other ones, and as you can see, they are quite not at the same places. They are put right in between those ones. We will start looking at how to make notes sharp, and to indicate that a note is sharp, we use this symbol. What we have then is a way of making it slightly higher in pitch. It's taking a note and making it sharp doesn't mean that it gets way higher, it's just slightly higher. As we can see here, we have the C that we made into a C sharp, and it's, like I mentioned, just slightly higher, so it doesn't go as far to the right as the D, but it's further to the right than the C. So if we're looking at this map, it means that it's a higher pitch than the C, but it's lower than the D, so it ends up right in between those 2 notes. And then, of course, you would have sharp notes in between all of the others as well. And as they're indicated here, they are in between them. But there are some exceptions between the C and the B, and between the E and the F. We don't have any sharp notes put out. That's because on any instrument that you have, it's simply no notes in between. If you look at the piano and you look at the B and the C, there are no keys in between. If you would look, for example, at the guitar and you find where you have the B and the C, right in between there are no notes. But as you can see, in most places there are. But unfortunately, we just need to memorize and remember this, that we have the sharp notes right in between all of the notes except for when we get to the B and the C and the E and the F. Now that's not the only way we can get to these notes. We can also use another way of indicating where those are. And as you can see, there are another set of boxes now that are pointing towards the same places as the sharp notes. And we will now look at how to get to those notes in another way. That's when we get to the flat notes, and there's another symbol that we use to indicate that a note is flat. And like you can see, these are in the same places, but now we worked it the other way around. This is doing it the opposite way. So here we are, we take a note and we make it slightly lower, which means that we're not pushing it as far to the left towards the lower pitch area that a note ends up on the next natural note, but right in between. We'll take the A as an example. If we take the A and make it flat, it means that it's moving to the left, but not so far that we end up on the G. So this note ends up right in between the G and the A. And as you can see, there is already another note in the same place. And if we look at above, that's the G sharp. So the A flat and the G sharp are actually ending up on the same place. And this might be a bit confusing, but the way it works in reality is that these notes actually sound the same and they are found on the same place. Again, if we refer to a piano, the A flat and the G sharp is on the exactly same key. So they are actually just one key for this note and it sounds the same. Same thing on guitar, you would only have one place where you can play the A flat and the G sharp in between the G and the A. So it's the same note, but they've got two different names. And we'll line up all of the flats as well here. So what we got is this. We have all sharps and flats lined up and they are on the same places as another one. So if you have a sharp note, you know that there's also a flat name for the same note. And they are found on the same place on any instrument. So if we look at the note that's in between the G and the A, that would be either a G sharp or an A flat. It's the same note but just two different names. If you're asking for the note that's in between the D and the E, then that could either be a D sharp or an E flat. It's the same thing. So to summarize this, we have the natural notes. It goes from A to G, so 7 different ones. After that, it starts over. Same thing goes if you go backwards towards a lower pitch. Then in between those, you have sharp and flat notes. And those notes have two names depending on if you call them by a sharp name or a flat. But there are exceptions. In between the B and the C and the E and the F, there are no notes in between.